Welcome back to Heavy Hand of God podcasting, where we talk about finding faith through pain. Right now, we are taking a moment, a nice little treat. We're going to do a Mother's Day edition. We have my coworker and friend, Dom, and his mother, and we're going to call her Momma King, here joining us. Say hello.
Hello.
Hey, how y'all doing?
That's it. That's it.
Right.
Don't worry. I'm gonna get y'all warmed up. I got y'all. I'm gonna get y'all warmed up. So the reason why we're calling this a Mother's Day edition is because I know, Dom, you shared a piece of your story with me, and I was just so touched and couldn't believe what you have gone through. And I was just thinking about your mother, and I had to really stop and ponder and be like, how was she feeling in all this? Because I know it couldn't have been easy. And here we are. So we decided to do this Mother's Day edition. So we're going to go ahead and kick off and get started. We're going to ask a few questions. And through those questions, we're hoping that your testimony will come across. The point here is to encourage all of our mothers to not give up on praying for your children, even if they seem like they are strayed or not going in the path or the direction that you intended them to be. And here we go.
Ready.
All right. So the first question I have is to Miss Momma King. As a young girl, before you even could think of having a child, what were some of your goals? How did you envision yourself for the future?
Well, honestly, I didn't. I had, both of my parents were together, and as a kid, you just like live your life, my dad was, I was with him. I was a daddy's girl, so I was with him, most of the time. And, just as a little girl, you're living, you're hanging out with your friends,
Just
you're going through
life.
just going through life,
Yeah.
Going skating, that's what I loved to do as a kid, would go skating, go hang out with my friends and things like that. I think, honestly, I didn't really have a vision in that moment,
Okay.
because you're just a kid,
Right.
I'm like 10, 11,
Right.
12 years old, you're not thinking like that far ahead
Right.
of things. I think for me, I guess my breakdown was when my parents got divorced.
Oh,
Okay, that was my breakdown. And being that I was a daddy's girl, I just resented my mom the whole time. Like, was like, take my dad back, because at one point he did. He wanted to come back. I could remember vivid things,
Yeah.
And so, but she was like, nope, nope, nope. And then the house that we lived in, of course, he moved out. And so we were still like maybe 10 or 15 minutes away,
Right. Right.
But then she up and moves from there to all the way into Town and Country, which
Right.
is like from, 30 minutes.
Right.
That angered me again because, now it's like I'm really not going to be able to see him, and things like that.
So you were holding on to a lot. There was a lot of
Yes,
emotions and
there was
stuff
a
like
lot
that.
of resentment there, because, me and my mother was not, we weren't the best, you know what I'm saying? But I clung to my dad.
Okay.
So it was just, I have a whole lot of memories with him.
Okay.
So that is pretty much where the breakdown sort of began.
Okay.
But initially, I was just a kid, just, living the dream.
And that's it.
And hanging out, like, didn't have a care in the world, you know what I'm saying? Like, my family, my parents took care of me, basically. And I didn't have to think about, things or whatever. It was just basically just
innocence.
Yeah.
Until it all.
Innocence.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you, around the time when you found out you were pregnant with Dom, where were you at mentally and emotionally? Were you ready or?
No, not at all. Not at all. When we moved to Town and Country, and that's where everything just started breaking down, and just resented my mother, for, leaving my dad, not really knowing what the situation was, like I said, I could vividly see certain things happening, but not saying that was the reason why they, broke up, got divorced, or what have you. But still not knowing and understanding that it was just still like, my mom took me, moved me away from my dad, so it was those things that I resented. I really, rebelled, sneaking out of the house at night, things like that. So when I got pregnant, and I told him when I conceived him, I was technically 14 and a half.
Wow. Okay.
I conceived him in November. My birthday's in December.
Wow.
Right. So I pretty much had him at 15.
And how did your mom?
Oh, and his dad was 20, 21. Yeah.
Wow.
But I was raised around with my family, around my aunts and everything. So I was always raised around older people. You know what I'm saying? So it didn't seem bad or anything like that. But I guess in the, you know what I'm saying, in the public's eye, yeah, that is really, really bad.
Okay.
But I end up having to tell my track coach. And what it was is that we're, track practice and my time's getting slower, this, whatever. And I concealed it up until I was probably almost 7 months.
Oh, 7 months. Okay.
Yeah. So, so we had, so when I told my aunt, when I told my track coach, she was like, well, we got to tell your parent, you know. So, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And still the whole innocence of being that age, like, yeah, okay. And then also resenting my mom, it was a like, oh, I'm going to hurt her.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, when I told her, it was like, yeah, that's what it is. And she was upset. Naturally, she was upset.
Right.
And everything. And really didn't know what to do, But as a kid, you don't think about, your parents and their thought process and things like that. All I was doing was basically just getting back at her, like hurting her. You know what I'm saying? So,
it's like, you hurt me, so I'm gonna hurt you.
Right.
Okay.
And then the fact that, I'm so many months pregnant and you not even know. Granted, yes, I'm concealing it, wearing big shirts, but that's not normally what I would wear. But we're in the same household and you don't see that. So, which means you don't see me.
Right. You felt uncared for, looked over, and like she didn't love you.
Right.
Okay. That's a tough, painful experience to go through, especially when you're about to give birth. Did you have any specific plans for how you wanted things to be with your child? Did you like, okay, when I have my kid, this is gonna be different. I ain't gonna do this, because usually when we get mad at our parents, we're like, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
I know. I said the same thing, because my parents, they don't play that, because we Haitians, they'll beat you. They'll beat you whatever they can find. A extension cord, a shoe. They'll take half the dough off and throw it at you if they can.
Right.
So I know when I grow up, with tears in my eyes, I ain't never gonna do that to my kids. So did you have that experience as well?
Yes, I did. But more so when I was leaving my mom's house, to go live with my grandparents.
Right.
Okay. Cause once I had my son, my mother, she said that I couldn't keep my son and stay in the household.
Oh, wow. That gave you a tough decision to make.
But at the time, I'm still 15. So I'm still like, you still naive. That innocence was still there. Like, I'm like, okay. I didn't know what to do other than what she said, you know. Didn't think I have any other choices or alternatives or nothing, because I was living with her already. So, so I'm like, okay. Go to the hospital, had my son, and I saw him, but they took him away.
Right.
And honestly, I didn't have any. It's like you feel bad, because it's a feeling like this is not good.
Yeah. But
you're still doing what your parent is telling you that you need to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I was crying, but it was just a lot of mixed emotions, because it was like, okay, that is my baby, but yeah, I'm gonna give my baby up because I gotta stay home with my mom. So it was just still not even just kind of like being able to take it all in, because it just boom 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 happened like that. So we were already set up with like adoption and all that,
Right.
and so he was in foster care basically for 2 weeks.
Wow. Okay.
And I went back home to my mom, and my grandmother called on my dad's side. My grandmother called, and she was like, "Hey, how are you?" And I said, "I'm okay," And so she was like, she's like, "Let me ask you a question." She goes, "Do you want your baby?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." Didn't know why. Didn't know why I said yes, ma'am. I could have said no. I could have said whatever,
Right.
But I said yes, ma'am. And she said, okay. She goes, I talked to granddaddy, and he has agreed. And mind you, my grandparents are old school.
Yes.
So they're church people, and they like my grandfather took care of the household, and even though she worked, she was a teacher's aide, she worked, was in the school system, she she's still like, I gotta run this by the man of the house.
Right.
Okay. And she goes, well, I spoke with granddaddy, and granddaddy has agreed to let you come and stay with us with their baby, and we'll figure everything out.
Wow. Praise
So
the
I was
Lord.
like, okay. She goes, so get your stuff packed and let me talk to your mom.
Okay. Was your mom upset by that decision? Did she feel like...
I think she was upset, but I think she was still upset with me, because I'm pregnant, and I'm quite sure, a lot of other things may have been running through her head.
Right. So
they were on the phone talking, and whatnot. I'm packing my stuff, getting my stuff, and I never forget, I was walking, was in a townhouse, and I was walking down the steps with my bags when my grandparents came. And so my mom said, oh, so what, how she put it, like, you think you're gonna be somebody? You and your baby ain't gonna be blank.
Ooh.
That right there was my motivation for him and myself to finish school,
right,
get my diploma, graduate on time.
Right.
Okay, that's really what I set out to do. It's like, I'm gonna graduate on time.
Plus, you were already going through a lot of resentment. Mm-hmm. And then so for her to say that was just the icing on the cake. Blow, I really don't like you, because before I just couldn't stand you, but now I really don't like you. And just before you start, I just want to say, for those of you guys who are joining us, we're doing a Mother's Day edition. Thank you again for tuning in to Heavy Hand of God podcasting, where we talk about finding faith through pain. Right now we are with Momma King, which is my friend and co-worker's mom, and we just want to talk about her journey and their testimony and how God has been working. So go ahead and continue.
Yes. So that there was my motivation, and me and raising him first, me getting through school, me graduating on time, then me with my son, making sure that, he doesn't, become a statistic, you know what I'm saying, of a teenage mom, making sure he graduate. That was the biggest thing, his grades and his graduation. That's the one thing, is like, I wanted him to be, you know what I'm saying, successful. You want your children to be better than you, always. But even if he wasn't rich, or he wasn't, you know what I'm saying, but just being able to just live, you know what I'm saying?
Know God,
exactly,
live a righteous life and all that other good stuff. Well, that's definitely understandable. Once he got a little older, or as you were raising him, I know like things kind of got a little difficult with work and trying to provide and stuff like that. What was it like trying to raise him and keep a roof over your heads?
Right. That, honestly, I can say that it wasn't really a hard thing. I will say it definitely takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
And if it wasn't for my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, with helping me with him, I honestly don't know where
you would be.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I would, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it just had went the other way,
Okay.
I would have never known him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So,
like, I just wouldn't have.
No, that makes
know?
total sense because it almost sounds like you had certain people put in your place at certain points who kind of stepped in and offered their services for free to kind of see you through to make a huge difference as to why you're sitting here before me right now.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
good. And I know for you, Dom, you've expressed that there were times where your mom did have to leave you home alone. At what age did that start, and how did you feel to know your mom had to leave the house to work to provide, but you were home alone?
I would say it started from recollection probably when I was around the age about 7, somewhere between like 7 and 8, and it was as a child it does get scary because you don't know, like you have to learn certain things at a younger age that you wouldn't really learn until you're like maybe 13, 14, 15, but all I saw in that moment was that my mom is doing what she has to do to make sure that we're going to be okay.
Okay.
That she's having to work hard, she's having to push through, and I didn't want to be an extra burden during that time of making things difficult or making things hard or complaining or whatever the case may be. So it was like once she told me this is what it is, and this is what I saw, it was okay, I gotta adjust and make it happen. And yeah, there were a lot of nights or times, where sometimes I got scared because you just never know. Like, you're just thinking, like, you hear a voice, you hear a sound or something, you're like, oh, who's that? What's going on?
Right.
And so I would be, like, thankful when I heard, like, the door opening or the lock change and know that it was her coming through the door, because then I felt a lot more safe.
Okay. Did you feel any resentment or any type of feelings at all? Because ultimately at that age, most kids just want to be with their parent.
Right. No, I felt nothing but love. To be totally honest, like it's there are certain things that I remember, there's certain things that I don't remember, but I know that I never felt in the sense of like trying to question or trying to figure out. I just felt love because even with her having to do so much at a young age and having to watch her do certain things and even replaying a lot of things that happened, when I was younger, it was one of those things like where she still never missed a beat on like loving me, on just still being there, on just making sure that I had what I need, during those times. So it wasn't any type of resentment. It was just me watching her push and press through and me just trying to be the best that I can at a young age, so that way she didn't have to really worry about me in a sense, even though she probably was worried, but not really in the sense of like she come home and I'm complaining like, Mom, I'm scared, I'm this. Like, there wasn't none of that. It was just we just rolled with the punches.
That's good. You sound like a little boy who just really loved his mom.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. And I'm really glad to hear that you have a sense of maturity to understand it's nothing personal. It's just if you want to eat, if you want this roof over your head, Mom has to go out and do this. So look at that. You were a little man before you could even be the man. So that's really good.
Absolutely.
And how has that shaped your perception of your mother today?
Man, it helped formulate a very strong and confident perspective about her, because by me replaying some of the things that we went through when we was younger, by even hearing a lot of her trials and tribulations that I didn't know of, because as a child you don't, our parents don't tell you, you don't know about certain things. So like as I got older, she started telling me more and more things, and it was just like, wow, like you really went through that, like this really happened.
Right.
Even talking to her now through this experience, it was like I just didn't know. And so for me now, it was like those are the things that really, it's those things that really push me and keep me going as of right now, and make me go as hard as I want to do for like my kids, because of what she did, how she persevered, how she didn't just take no for an answer. It really was just, I gotta make a way, and that's why I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I pushed the way that I pushed, why I strive the way that I strive, is because I watched her endure through it when there were times where she didn't maybe have that help, or where she just I gotta get it done.
No, I can definitely respect and understand that. When it comes to parenting, sometimes you have to make some tough decisions in order to think about the future, your child's future, and it definitely sounds like your mom has done that.
Right.
So just now he just made a comment where there were things that he found out that you went through that were just super difficult, but you had to do it and get it done. What are some of the top 3 things that you would say that you went through that were really difficult, but it just had to get done in order to keep things moving?
First, just leaving him home while I had to go work. You know, he, you know, that right there was one of the worst times because I would have to leave because I didn't have a car.
Right.
So, of course, catching the bus, you got to leave like an hour and a half, 2 hours early from, you know what I'm saying? And me having to get a digital clock and write, like cue cards, write, you know, 7:30. When you see this on this clock, this is what time you need to leave the house and lock the door. You know, like doing those things. And I mean, for the first 2 weeks of me doing that, I never forgot I was on the bus crying. I cried for 2 weeks straight.
Wow.
On that bus because it's like, and I kept praying like, Lord, please don't let that happen to my kid, you know.
Right.
And just kept it moving. And I would talk to him and be like, you okay? You good? You know, and he would like, yeah. He would act like, you know, yeah, I'm okay. Like nothing. But
was
like
that
as
comforting?
it was because it kind of helped me a little bit to understand and to be like, okay, well, he not scared, so he must, you know, he's good. I don't have to worry as much, even though, yes, I still worried, you know, but it just made me feel a little bit better that he wasn't scared.
Right.
Now, later on in life, when we had these discussions, he was like, Mom, I was really scared. And I said, well, why you didn't say anything? And he was like, I just figured this is what we had to do.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, yeah, you know, and so it's kind of like the way we talk about things now about, you know, stuff we had to do and whatnot. It's like, well, how come you never said that? But which I'm kind of glad that he didn't say it because I would have been a wreck. I don't think I would have kept that job if, you know, like, but I knew I had to keep the job because, you know, we just moved in the apartment. And that was my next thing is just, you know, we moved into the apartment and my dad helped me furnish it and things like that helped me.
Support.
Yes. And so that was my next goal was to get a car. And I was telling myself, it's like, I have to get a car before, because it was summertime. So it's like before school starts, it's like I have to get a car.
Right.
It's like I'm not going to, you know what I'm saying?
Keep
I didn't know what I
bus.
was going to do. Yeah. Come school time. So at that time, once that was over with, you know, I had like $500, you know, and I went to the rent office. And when I went to the rent office to pay my rent, I had him. And the lady said, "That's your son?" And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." And she's like, "Do you know he comes in here every morning and tells me like what he got in his lunchbox, and he come and say good morning?" And I'm like, "Huh?" And they were like, "Yeah, he comes every morning." I said, "Oh, okay."
He's already flirting at a young
right,
age.
Exactly.
My
I'm sitting here like, yeah. And so I'm explaining to her like, you know, I have to go to catch the bus, go to work. I'm explaining these things, and it's like, look, I said I might be late on the rent next month because I need to find a car, you know, and things like that. And the sheer just from a stranger, you know, to say, "Don't worry about it. Get your car. I'll handle that." And she goes, and the rent lady was like, "I'll make sure he gets on the bus to go to Boys and Girls Club, or, you know, I can take him."
Okay.
She started coming to my apartment complex, to my apartment to get him.
And that's a blessing in itself. That's
Exactly.
remarkable because she didn't have to.
No.
She don't owe you anything. She's not related to you. And that right there, I say, is how God uses people.
And it's just by sheer conversation, just having a convo with somebody. You just don't know who's able to help you, you know, or, you know what I'm saying, just in the situation, just having that. I didn't really think anything about it. You know, I'm just having a conversation, letting her know, you know, what's going on. And she just was like, okay, yeah. And she would call me and she said, hey, Dominique didn't go to the Boys and Girls Club. I kept him with me.
Okay.
We went and put notices on people's doors.
See,
I'm like, oh,
that's cute.
okay.
So, because I think as a mom, sometimes we internalize things a little too much, where we question A, whether or not we're making the right decisions, B, whether or not we're doing enough, are we a good mom, or like we put a lot of judgment on ourselves, what we do, not even realizing how if we just speak and just put some of those thoughts out there, how God can really provide, help, send people to help. And I think that's a beautiful story how that happened. Now let's shift really quick, because I know, Dom, you mentioned that you had got arrested.
Yes.
When you first found out he got arrested, what was going through your mind?
I was pissed.
Okay.
I was pissed because he only had 4 days before he was going to go to FAMU for college.
Oh.
4 days. In 4 days, he was going to go off to FAMU for college. I was over it. Like, I was upset. I was just like, I don't care how you get, no, I was done. Get your stuff, you getting out of my house. I was very upset, very hurt,
So if we can like connect that back to that comment that your mother made, saying that you will never be nothing and he will never be nothing, that kind of struck a chord to find out that he got arrested, because in your mind you had a vision and a plan for him, and he shattered that. So we're going to pause on you really quick and we're going to jump to Dom. Dom, what were you thinking? Do tell us. And how did you get arrested?
Oh man, I wasn't thinking, to be totally honest. It really was just, man, I don't know. It was just being, I might even say with the wrong people. I just think that for me, it was more so just kind of just going with the flow. Because there was no reason to even go down that road and make the decision that I made. It was just, hey, I was with a friend, and we were like, hey, let's go to the store and get clothes. I'm like, all right, cool. Just kind of going with it. And like I said, it wasn't that I needed it. My mom provided very well for me. I didn't need clothes. I didn't need for nothing, growing up. And so literally it was just making a bad decision. And we tried taking the clothes, and then right when we was walking out, police came and surrounded the building. And that was my first time, getting arrested. And I was just like, wow, like this really can't be happening right now,
Did you have to go to jail?
Yes, I went for like a half day.
Okay.
I think it was like a half a day, and then I think like by the next morning or so, because through all the process and all that, it was I didn't really get in there till like nighttime. So then by like the morning, I was already out.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And did you learn anything from that experience?
It was just making better choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still young, but I still hadn't really went through anything.
Okay.
Right.
I hadn't really endured or had to go through anything. So even though in that mindset it was making better choices, it was still one of those things where like, okay, I made this mistake, and because of me still being able to go off to FAMU, I still don't think it still didn't really sink in.
Right.
Only because it was such a fast transition from that and then going off to college. So it was like, okay, this happened, but now I'm out. I'm going to college. So yes, making better choices, but it really didn't really like kind of sit, or didn't have a long enough time to sit with me.
Okay. Yeah. So your mom kicks you out.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do after that?
That didn't. The kicking out really didn't happen until I came back from FAMU.
Okay. How long were you there?
I was there for a year.
Okay.
So once I came back, that's when I met my oldest daughter's mom. Well, we knew each other from school, but we connected. Once I ended up coming back, and then it wasn't until once she came about, once my daughter came about, like, she got conceived, and me and my daughter's mom were living together and everything. So everything was pretty okay at that time. But it really wasn't until things took a turn where I got arrested the second time.
Okay, let's talk about that.
That's
But before we continue, I just want to say thank you again for chiming in. We just have maybe another 15 minutes or so left in the show, and we just want to take a moment to say you are listening to Heavy Hand of God podcasting, where we find faith through your pain. And if you're listening on YouTube, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with another mommy who's probably struggling with her baby. No matter how old, we still do love our babies and care about our babies. And right now we are with my friend Dom and his mother, we call Momma King, who is sitting here with us. And go ahead and tell us, were you pissed off that second time around? Because that first time you were livid. That he got arrested?
The first time, yes. The second time, I was like...
You could have killed him yourself.
Yeah, yes. But, because we went, going through things with him in school and all of that, it was always... Because I was always that parent, sort of like, he can come and say something about something else or someone else. And I'm like, well, you better not do that. Or, like...
right, like a parent would.
Exactly. But I wasn't really listening to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really have to listen to your child. Listen to your children. Have that open door. That's something that I did not have. And I guess that's just from me being raised to where that's what my mom did to me. So I did it to him.
So wait a minute. So basically you went by what you knew.
Right.
So you saw how your parents parent and adopted that to parent your child that way, even though the way your mom parented left you with a lot of like emotions and burdens and bondages and shackles, Right. Okay, continue.
Right. Because that's how you learn.
That's what you know.
That's what you know.
That's what you know.
And so, but how I was raised, how I raised him, and how we became so close and so tight, it's two different. It's different. But I know, and I had to grow up too, and I had to stop and just listen to him. Right. And so once I started doing that, the second time I was just like, okay, are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really, it registered, but it was just kind of like, okay, let me get with him and see exactly what happened, because of course he told me something completely different, right? And so I'm trying to listen and understand, and like, okay, well, why would they do that? Why would they think you did, all of this stuff is trying to understand him. Yeah. But the whole time he was not telling me the truth, right? But that was me just, trying to understand what was going on. So
take a different approach, basically. Yes. All right, so that's good. And I think as parents, I think it's important to stop and realize if one parenting method is not working, it's healthy and okay to find a healthier alternative, to try and understand where your child's coming from, especially when they're in that young phase, right? And making some mistakes that you don't particularly agree with as a parent. Right. But continue.
Yep. So, me trying to understand and get it from him, and I'm like, Dominique, that doesn't sound right. Right. Something's not right. And I mean, at first, I'm like all for him, all on his side. I'm like, listen, if I find out something else is different, right? Like, it's gonna be me and you.
Did this take a toll on y'all relationship?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So Dom, why don't you explain what happened?
Oh man.
In your eyes.
So around that time, like I said, that was, to me, by this time I was working at Publix, and I was back like staying with my mom at that time, because me and my daughter's mom just didn't agree to certain things, and my mom was just like, hey, she knew that I was trying to get out of the situation as far as that, but I didn't know how to, right. Because at the same time, me being a first-time father, it was, I didn't have an ideal image of what the relationship supposed to look like, what
Right.
marriage supposed to look like, what, I didn't have that. So, I was just trying to stick it out just because I felt like that was the right thing to do.
Right.
So my mom was like, you don't look too good, so if you want to leave, you can come back here and come stay with me. So once that happens, I started staying with her, and I think I started working out Publix right before I started living back with my mom. And it wasn't, I think my daughter at this time when the arrest happened, my daughter was, I would say she was at least 1, maybe 2, in between that stage. And again, same thing where it was just like a really a bad decision on wanting to.
Very bad.
Yeah, this was very bad, but it was a decision where it was like, again, just not thinking. And would I change anything? I wouldn't. And the reason why I say that is because, truth be told, when the question started happening, because what it was, I had stole money. And when I got questioned about it, like, I knew without a doubt that I could have gotten away with it. Like, I knew. It was just more so like, okay, we got to go through these formalities because of, when it happened. And these are the people that were there when it happened. And based on what was being told, I knew for that doubt, like, if I could have stuck with what I was saying, I knew I would have got away with it. And I can't tell you what just told me to just say that and just tell the truth. Even with it like being, we can do this. If you say this, we'll do that. It was just, let me just tell the truth. And I told the truth. And I ended up getting arrested, and I went to jail. It was a little bit longer than the first time, but it wasn't like, I don't know if it was a couple days maybe, or if not less than that. But that's where life really shifted, like, in a major, major way for me. That was when I really hit rock bottom. I lost, like, everything. Every single thing. I had a car. Lost my car. My confidence, the people that I was hanging around, like, a lot of people that were, like, my friends at that time, they truly just, like, when they separate away with me, they didn't want to talk to me. They didn't want to be around me. And, of course, I was at a low point because I was still a father, and I didn't know how I was going to provide.
Okay.
I didn't know what I was going to do for my daughter. And
is that where your relationship went downhill with your mom as well?
Yes, because it was. I knew at that moment when, like, a lot of her frustration was more so it was disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
Without her telling me that, when I play it back now, I can tell it was just more so like, this is not what I wanted for you. Like, I envisioned something else, and then on top of you being a father, like, how could you make this type of decision with you being a father? And so I knew her frustration at that time was more of, like, I'm just angry. Like, I didn't think that this would happen.
Because she wanted better for you.
She wanted better at that time. Wanted better in general. And so that's where things shifted, and I knew, like, the dynamic was, like, I had to go through those challenges. I had to hit rock bottom and go through just that phase of, like, that experience of learning how to get through it, without her help.
Okay.
At that time, in the sense of help, in the sense of, like, not her, like, trying to cater me through or baby me through it.
Right.
It was like I literally had to learn, because as parents, we just can't shelter our children from everything.
Exactly.
We have to let them go through certain things, because if they don't go through it, then when it actually hits them, they're not gonna know how to succumb it. I think that sometimes a lot of times when people, whether, like, let's say, like, maybe with suicide, stuff like that, I feel like a lot of times it can come from being sheltered so much, so when they finally go through something traumatic,
right,
they don't know how to endure it. Not everybody, but I think like some of them are like that.
Yeah. So okay, that makes sense. So, Momma King, do tell me, how did it feel to see your child suffer but can't do anything to intervene?
That was, that's very hurtful. It's very hurtful because, I was at a point where, yes, I'm working and things like that, but I'm not making a whole lot of money. I'm getting by and things like that. I'm living, but then when that happened and, he's home, I'm like, why? Why? Why did you have to do that? So everything started to change, because then I didn't trust him. I didn't believe him, and things like that. So it's like, okay, when I get up in the morning to go to work, you got to get up in the morning, get up out of here. Like, I was only going to trust you as far enough as I can see you.
Right.
Okay. But, it's like I just didn't have it. But now I go to my father, my stepmom. yeah, I'll get him out. I'll do this. I'll do that. I had aunties that, they get him out. And I'm like, he's never going to learn.
Right.
And that was part of the problem. He never learned.
Okay.
He never learned, And so, and he did. I had to see him hit that rock bottom. He literally had to say, Mom, can I get $20 to get a haircut? Because I have an interview. And I was just like, part of me wanted to be like, no, because you didn't have to do,
Right.
you didn't have to do it. But I know that he was trying.
Yeah.
So therefore, I was like, okay, yes.
So you had a little bit of faith.
Yes.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's good.
Yep. So, so I helped him out here or there, but then on top of that, I'm having to help him take care of his daughter.
Right.
So which in this instance, I'm taking care of his daughter.
Right.
So which that right there, I adored and loved so much. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I didn't mind. And she was, in the household and things like that. He was very hands-on.
Okay.
Very hands-on as a father.
That's good because he didn't have that example. So
Mm-mm.
that's really good that he's changing that wave.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. How long did you guys go without speaking? Or barely speaking, I should say.
Oh, gosh. Sometimes it was weeks. Sometimes
Okay.
it could be weeks.
Okay.
At least to a month.
And-
a month and a half sometimes.
Okay.
And it was just, him being stubborn, me being stubborn.
Okay.
And I would feel like, well, I'm the parent,
Respect
so,
me.
Exactly.
Listen to me. You
Right.
come to me.
Right.
I feel you. Mm-hmm.
Yep. But, I still just prayed about things, prayed on him and his life, and just, Lord, just watch over him.
Right.
And I said, if nothing else, just watch over him, instill in him, the right decisions. If he's thinking, a certain way, just make sure that he's making the right decision, the right choices for him,
How long did this rough patch last before everything was back to normal where you guys were close?
That incident, that lasted because he was like out of work for almost 2 years.
2 years, okay.
2 years.
You hear that, moms who are listening?
Yes.
2 years. So what that means is, even when it seems hopeless and a year has gone by, 2 years have gone by, things will change on God's timing, not your timing. You just be faithful and keep praying because you just don't know what can happen. So when things started looking up for you, Dom, what happened?
Oh man. So during that time, I started going to, it was a church. It was a friend of mine that I went to school with. I think we connected with Facebook or something like that, and he was inviting me to the church, and I thank God that the church was like close by, like it was within like maybe 3-4 miles, from my mom's house, and at that time, and I just started going because at this time, like I have nothing else to lose, like I have nothing else, like I might as well go, like I don't have a job to go to right now. So I started going to the church, and then that's when I met my god brother through that church, and we connected one time through like just outreach, just kind of sharing each other's like our story, and the connection was just so like authentic and genuine between me and him, and so he knew like what I would like. A little bit of what I was going through, a little bit of like what me and mom was going through, and like he knew I really had like nowhere to go, so he ended up taking me in. I ended up meeting like his mom. Like I call her my god mom just because of the role that she played as well during that time, and just seeing me through because I never met her. She just knew like based off what her son told her about me, what her son told her about me, that he seemed like a good influence.
Right.
So she was like, hey, if he wants to come here, he can come and stay as well. So,
how long did you stay with her?
I stayed with her. I don't know. I know it was some months.
Good little minute, yeah.
It was a good minute.
But good enough to at least help you get back on your feet, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so it was during that time where I was just like, like I said, I was at the church 24/7, but still trying to find a way, like I need to work, so for me, it was, I'm applying anywhere. Like I got to a point where people were telling me like, you can't have this job because you got a felony. You can't have this job because you can't apply here because you got this. You can't apply here. And I just got to a point where it's like, I can't if I'm going church consistent, I believe what I'm reading. If I believe what God has said in His Bible, that He can, He can do the impossible. He can, He can, anything that people say is impossible, He can make possible. If I'm saying all that, then I can't limit myself to what I'm applying to. So at this point, my faith is just like, I'm going, anything that looks appealing, I'm going to apply for it.
That's good. That's
yes,
hope.
Yes.
So your mom kept praying, and you also started praying, and you were both just persistent praying.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So it was. I get an email one day out the blue, and I'm looking at my email. I didn't have a cell phone or anything. So the email was from a recruiter. Says, hey, I try to contact you. I want to bring you. I want to speak with you about interviewing you. So I'm like, okay. So I go to my god brother, his fiance at the time. She had a cell phone. She let me use the cell phone to call him. So I talked to the recruiter. She sets up the interview. She said, hey, go through all these questions and whatnot. She sets up the interview. I'm looking through the email. I don't know what I even applied to. But the way my mind was when my faith was set up is like, I don't care what it is. Like, I just know that I need to work to provide for my daughter.
Right.
And so she sends me a link, do my research, find out it's a group interview. I go there. Out of everybody in there, like, I'm the most underdressed person ever. Everybody in there with full suit. Yes, and experience. I still... It wasn't until I actually got into the interview that I knew what the job was, but I never remember applying to the job whatsoever.
You're like, but I'm here. Consider me anyways.
Right.
How much you paying?
Mm-hmm. So I get in there, and I did my research. I asked a lot of good questions, and the recruiter called back and said, "How you think you did?" I tell her, said, "Hey, they want to bring you back for another interview." I meet with the director. I'll never forget him. His name was Longer Henderson. I meet with him one-on-one, and he tells me, like, honestly, I can't tell you, like, if you go ask my team, I never hire anybody that doesn't have experience. Everybody on my team has at least about 5 years experience. You're the first person I'm even considering for this position, and it's because of the research that you did, the questions that you asked. You asked questions that nobody has ever thought to do, but it showed that you actually did some digging.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you were so hungry for it, to the point where you didn't go, even though you weren't really sure what you were applying for, you at least try to do some bit of research.
Right.
Okay, yeah. That's good.
And so we in the interview, and it was so funny that I can never forget this. No matter how old I'll end up getting, he asked me at the end. He said, "So, how much you looking to make?" And me, because I'd never been in a corporate America, I never made more than $8.50 an hour by that time. But again, I was that eager to just want to work. I didn't care what they paid me. I just want to be on somebody's payroll consistently and be able to take care of my daughter. And I told him, I said, I'll take $9. And he just looked at me and laughed. He was like, what? He was like, son, this is corporate America, so you have to give me like a salary range, And I'm like, sir, this is my first time ever been in an environment like this, so I don't know. So he's like, okay, don't worry about it. I'll help you out. He's like, so I'm gonna write down 19 something, $19 and some change. And so my eyes got big, like 19, like what? And so I said, okay, thank you. So I get the call back from the recruiter. She said that they like me, and they want to extend me an offer for the job. Mm-hmm. And so of course I'm in tears. Like I'm in tears because like I just wasn't aware, or just like I guess in shock that I made it this far. Yeah. That I really made it this far.
Finally making some real money.
Right.
To provide for your child.
Absolutely.
And did that kind of open up your future a little bit? Like, did things start to be less blurred in your opinion?
It was still blurred, but it was still like more of like a faith increase.
Okay.
Because of the fact that, everybody kept telling me that you can't apply to this, you can't get this, and I made it this far. And through him telling me he would never hire anybody with like no experience, and I go and ask for one thing, he write down something else. It was more of a faith increase, saying like, I know that I could. Now I'm without a doubt, I know that I can apply for anything I can apply to and go get it, as long as I just keep my confidence and faith in God. And it wasn't until we get to the part where we had to do like the application and stuff and do like the onboarding paperwork.
Right.
And it was like talking about the background. And of course, to anybody just being realistic, when you see that, it's like, okay, you just want to lie. Like,
right. Yeah. No, I don't have a felony. Yeah, that's not me. Wrong person.
Right. And so instantly, I'm like, I want to lie. I want to be like, nah, no. But at that moment, I got pricked because it's like, listen, it was like God said, if I trusted you, if you trust me alone like this much to get you this far, then why waver now?
Right.
And so, I called my God brother. I said in the room, I said, hey, listen, I just need you to pray with me. And I'm at the point where I'm my most fearful. I want to tell the truth, but just pray with me. We prayed about it. So I told the truth. And 2-3 weeks go by. The lady's calling me, the recruiter lady, but it still was no answer. Like, we're still processing the background check. We're still processing the background check. We'll let you know what's going to happen. And, lo and behold, we get past my original start date. And I finally get the call to say, hey, Mr. King, sorry it took so long, but we want to go ahead and extend you the offer. Everything went through and you're good to go. And I ended up starting that position off at like 18.23.
Okay, that's good.
So I went and asked for 8. And God doubled that,
right.
Gave me more and got 18.23. And I literally just cried. Like, right. I cried because it was like, this was a job, in the education field.
Right.
My first time getting education, where so many people just told me, like, don't do this, don't apply for it, you can't get this, you can't have this.
So, wait a minute.
Including me.
Right, okay, so.
Yes, including her.
Including me.
Yeah, yes. So your mom told you there's no way you're going to get the job.
Yeah.
When you called her and told her that she did get the job, Mom, what was your reaction?
I was shocked, but I was a little hesitant because I'm like, yeah, okay, right, But when he actually started working, and I'm like, okay, and I think I had to come pick him up a couple times and stuff like that from the job. And so I'm like, okay, that was the first little hint, like faith, having faith. Because even though for me, I was raised in church and things like that, you still don't, because you're in the world every single day. My faith still wasn't like that strong. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, this
like
this
you
was
praying for it, but
right.
whatever,
but I know if it don't happen, here's my plan B.
Right.
Plan C, plan D.
Exactly. But when it does happen, it knocks you off your feet, and you're like, oh Jesus, what else can I ask you for?
Right. So that was the first. I'm like, oh, okay. And like I was telling him when he was asking me these, he was asking me something, when he was letting me know about this podcast and stuff. And I'm like, it was something else that he went and applied for. And I'm like, Dominique, you're not going to get it. You have a record. Like, you're not going to.
Right.
And he ended up getting it. It was something he applied, and I can't for the life of me, I can't think of what it was.
It'll hit you at 3:00 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. And so I was just kind of like, at that point, the second time,
yeah,
I was just like, Lord,
it's
thank
in your
you.
hands.
I'm like, just, thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
You accepted it at that point.
At that point, it was just, I'm not going to ever tell him no. I'm not going to ever tell him he can't do something.
Right.
He's not going to get something. He's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was just, I just stopped altogether.
Right.
If he'll say, oh, yeah, I went and I applied for this. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And I would just, like, at night pray,
Right.
And so, I just, at that point, at that moment, it was just like, I'm not,
Yeah, now you became super supportive.
Yeah,
okay.
Because now I'm sitting here like, okay, God, like, you did it for him.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah, like, what about me?
Yeah.
What about her? Yeah.
So
We related.
Yes. So, and I tell him, I said, and I always tell him, and I always feel like this, that he has this shield around him, like, that God is protecting him.
Right.
I see it. I see it.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, he has this story and
right.
he has this testimony and and it's not all bad. It's just, it's good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's
encouraging.
It's right. And it's just like, I have to thank him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Just for having that shield around him, having that, because it's been like that for years,
right?
Ever since
he was a kid,
exactly.
staying at home alone, but he
right.
was okay.
Yeah.
And put your mind at ease to keep going. So with that said, so we're coming to an end. I just want to say this was like so good. Like, you have no idea. And just sitting here and thinking about it firsthand, I realized that you started off with innocence, had a lot of stuff kind of going on. Your relationship with your mother was kind of rocky. She said some things that you did not want to linger over you, which is you weren't going to be anything and your son wasn't going to be anything. And there you go, you give birth to this beautiful baby boy who not only loved his mom but wanted his mom to be okay and tried to step in like the man of the house, where he was starting to do things for himself at a young age. And as he got older, although he made mistakes and you guys kind of had a rocky relationship for a while, you guys continued to pray. He prayed for himself and his future, and you prayed for him, and you just tried to stay persistent. And when the things that you were praying for was coming to pass, it increased your faith to continue to be supportive. And I think that's the moral of the message here. Just do not give up on your child. They may not seem like they're getting what you are saying, moms, dads. Just keep praying, keep being persistent. Your knees should be tattered from hitting that bedside and just continuing to be persistent. Because from my personal perspective, in the short time that I've known you, because I think I've been working with you for maybe like almost 10 months now. We're approaching that. Whew, yeah. And at work, just seeing you doing your thing, you come off very professional. You're a hard worker. Our company really depend on you for a lot, and there are a lot of responsibilities that we put on you to get things done, and you surpass everything that they've given you, even with the recent temporary promotion that you've gotten. And I just want to say congratulations on that, and I'm really excited for you. So things are just getting better and better, and that money coming in, y'all. You feel me? So I just wanted to close out with a prayer. And with this prayer, I want to not just extend it to the mothers who are struggling to just find that faith and to be faithful in God to protect their children, but I'm also want to extend it to the children who have been abandoned by parents. Or feel abandoned, like their parents are there, but maybe emotionally you don't have that relationship that you're seeking. That is painful in itself to deal with. And I just want to say, keep praying to God and be faithful. And I will close this out in prayer. Is that okay with you too?
Yes.
I should let Momma King do it, because you know. Yes. Okay, so let's bow our heads. Okay. Heavenly Father, we come to you to say thank you. Thank you for being that ultimate father, that ultimate parent, the one who we can depend on to help us. Lord, sometimes when we open our mouth and breathe to call upon your name, we don't know if we're 100% believing it, but we're going to fake it till we make it, because we know that we can trust in you. We know that we can put our faith and everything in you. Thank you for being our refuge. Thank you for all the mothers globally who are struggling in their relationship with their children. Maybe it's not where they need to be. Maybe pridefulness is involved. I pray for those who feel abandoned, left behind by their parent, and need that support and love. Father, will you send them your love? Send them your support, your kindness. May they trust you and seek after you to be a refuge. Thank you, Lord, for all that you do, for being awesome and amazing. And thank you for being the first model to show us how to be a righteous parent. So parents, we're going to leave you here, and we're going to say, please go out, get that support, get plugged into your church, talk to other Christian parents, and remember to never give up on your children. You are listening to Heavy Hand of God Podcasting. Thank you again, and do not forget to like, subscribe, and to comment. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Woo! We're done.